Welcome back, my dear students. We will discuss on the topic on animal association. What is symbiosis? Symbiosis coming from the Greek word syn mean with and biosis mean living. Symbiosis is a close and often long-term interaction between two or more different biological species. Two or more different biological species, that is important. And any organism, either plant or animal, that spend part or all of its life intimately associated with the other organism of different species, that is known as symbiont, and the relationship that is known as the symbiosis. The term symbiosis was proposed by the German scholar Henrik Anton Barry in 1879 as the living together of unlike organisms, that is, to different species. Now, the definition of symbiosis is controversial among scientists. Some believed symbiosis should only refer to persistent mutualism, while others believes it should apply to any types of persistent biological interactions, that is mutualistics, commensalistics, or parasitic. And symbiotic relationship can be characterized further by specifying the nature of the interaction between the participants. So symbiosis, that is that is a relationship that may be obligate, that meaning that both symbiont entirely depends on each other for survival. For example, you know that's a lichen that consists of a fungal and photosynthetic symbionts that cannot live on their own. A lichen, that is a composite organism that arises from algae or cyanobacteria that living among filaments of multiple fungi species in a mutualistic relationship. And symbiotic relationship may be facultative also. That's meaning they can but do not have to live with other organisms. That is a facultative. So symbiotic relationship may be obligatory in nature, may be facultative in nature. Now, what are the symbiosis depending on their host body? It may be endosymbiosis, it may be ectosymbiosis. The endosymbiosis, that is a relationship in which one symbiont lives within the tissue of the other, either in the intracellular phase or extracellular phase. As per example, rhizobium, that is a nitrogen fixing bacteria that lives in the root nodules on the legume roots. And another ectosymbiosis, that is also known as exosymbiosis, and that is a symbiotic relationship in which symbiont live on the body surface of the host and that present on the inner surface of the digestive tract or ducts of any exocrine glands. You know that the lice, that's ectoparasites on the human and commensal ectosymbiosis, such as the barnacles that attach themselves on the jaw of the baleen whales, and the lactobacilli and the other bacteria in the humans that also show the exosymbiosis. And symbiosis is also classified by their physical attachment, and they're categorized as conjunctive symbiosis, in which organisms have bodily unite, that's mean they're attached to the body, and another disjunctive symbiosis, then they are not united with the body of the host, that is a disjunctive symbiosis. Now, the symbiosis are the four categories: Phoresis, commensalism, parasitism, and mutualism. The first one is a Phoresis. Phoresis means to carry, and in this type of the relationship, usually smaller of the two partner, that is known as a phoron, and that is mechanically carried on the body of the host. And no metabolic dependency occurs in this type of the interactions. Goose barnacle that are growing on the legs and the carapace of the crab, that is a very good example of the Phoresis. And another, the eggs of the Dermatobia hominis, that is a human, and the cattle butterfly that are attached to the legs of a mosquito, which transport them to the human cattle. And hypopass names of certain mites that is adapted to clinging to arthropods or mammals for the transports. That are the examples of the Phoresis. Now the second one, commensalism. During this type of the relationship, both the host and the commensal eat at the same table. So they share the host food, and the commensalism derives from the English word commensal, meaning sharing the food in the human social interactions, which in turns derives from the Latin commensa, that's meaning sharing a table. And in other words, the spatial proximity of the two partners, that is the relationship both the host and the commensal, that permits the commensal to feed on the substances captured or ingested by the host. And the commensalism describes a relationship between two living organisms where one benefits and other is not significantly harmed or helped. And in this type of the relationship, the commensal is also provided with shelter, but no metabolic dependence is found. And the commensal can survive if it is separated from the host and performing its own biological functions. Here you see the examples of the birds that's following the army and raids on the forest floor. As the army and colonists travel on the forest floor, they stare at various flying insects. And this type of the insect that are catched by the birds. So the birds following the ants and catch the fleeing insects, and that is a good examples of the commensal. So the sharing of the food and the providing of the shelter are the main feature of the commensalism. And a number of unique behavioral patterns are commonly associated with certain commensals and that are found in the nature. And then parasitism. The parasitism, that is a parasitism means one who eats at the table of the another. And parasitism is an intimate and obligatory relationship between two heterospecific organisms in which one, usually the smaller of the two partners, is metabolically dependent on the other. The dependent one is parasite and the other, that is a host. And this dependency may be permanent in case of the tapeworm, and temporary, it may be temporary also during the feeding of the mosquito. That's on the host body, that's a temporary, and you see here that's a permanent in nature. The relationship had to be obligatory, since this parasite normally can survive if it is prevented from making contact with the host body. Unlike commensals, the parasite derives its nutritional requirement directly from the host body, Now, there is another category, it's a brood parasitism. Particularly in case of the brood parasitism, a bird lay her eggs in the nest of the another bird. And the host bird, that is a owner of the nest, then that is responsible for the raising and feeding of the parasite bird and chick. And brood parasitism relieves the parasitic parents from the investment of the rearing young or building nest for the young and enabling them to spend more time on other activities such as foraging and producing further offspring, etc., etc. And such type of the strategy found among birds, insects, and fish also. And then the last one of the animal association, that is a mutualism. And a mutualistic relationship is when two organisms of different species work together and each benefiting from the relationship. And in this type of the relationship, both the mutualist and the host that are metabolically dependent on each other. That is important, metabolically dependent on each other. And mutualist is usually smaller than the host and usually lives in the body of the host. And mutualism is usually obligatory, since in the most cases, physiological dependence has evolved to such a degree that one mutual cannot survive without the other. And you see here, this is hermit crabs with sea anemone. That is a very good example. Now, there is a question. Mutualism play a key part in the ecology. Yes, mutualism play a key role in the ecology. Mutualistic interactions that are the vital for the terrestrial ecosystem and that function as more than 48% of the land plants rely on the mycorrhizal association between the plant roots and the fungi, with the plant providing carbohydrates to the fungus in return for primarily phosphate, but also nitrogenous compounds. And another rhizobia, that's a bacteria that speaks nitrogen for the leguminous plant in return of the energy that containing the carbohydrates. So it is a mutualistic relationship, both dependent on each other. And another important example is pollination. As a pollinator arrives at the plant, makes contact with the flower in order to obtain the nectar. And during this contact, pollen grains stick on the body and the legs of the pollinator. When the flies away to feed from the next plant, taking the pollen with it, and subsequent visits to other plants and ensure that the pollen from the first plant is distributed far. And nectar or pollen are traded for pollen dispersants or and protections of aphids, where the aphids trade sugar-rich honeydew. And that is a good examples of the mutualistic relationship. And the jucori, animals disperse the seeds of the plants, and this is a similar to pollinations in that the plant produces food resources. As per example, the animals after eating the fruits, the seeds, they are dispersed in different part of the forest and different parts of the land also. So that also play important role in the ecology. And mutualism play a key role part in the ecology and supported by two good examples. The first one, it is a relationship between the some ants and trees. And you see here that the ants are present on the plant, and basically this is a plant, and the herbivorous animals that eats the plants, and when the herbivores come to attack that particular plants, the ants are raised and they protect the host body. So basically this is a very good examples. So the ants, their presence on the plants for shelter, and also they protects acacias from attack by herbivores. And you see here, there's oxpeckers, there's lands on the zebras and eats ticks and other parasites that lives on their skin, and the oxpeckers that get food and control the pest also. Also, when danger situation comes, the oxpeckers fly upward and scream at warning situations, which helps to zebras around the surrounding. And mutualism also play a key part in the ecology, and by another two good examples, the relationship between the clownfish and the sea anemone, but particularly this terrestrial fish protects the anemone from the anemone-eating fish, and in turn the stinging tentacles of the anemone that protect the clownfish from the predators. A special mucus film on the clownfish protects it from the stinging tentacles and the fecal matter of the clownfish that provides nutrients to the animals. And there's a coral reefs that are the results of the very good examples of the mutualistic relationship. And that the mystery behind the calcium carbonate secretion that lies in the association of the symbiosis between the reef building corals and a special type of the algae. And this rebuilding corals, that's a contain a gastrodermal or epidermal symbiotic algae, that's a zooxanthellae. And so basically they are known as a zooxanthellae corals. And coral polyps that are the animals, and the zooxanthellates, that is the plant that live within them, and they have a mutualistic relationship. Coral polyps that produce carbon dioxide and water as byproducts of cellular respiration. Now the zooxanthellae cells use these byproducts to carry out the photosynthesis, and sugar, lipids, and oxygens are some of the products of the photosynthesis, and that used by the corals polyps to grow and carry out the cellular respirations. And corals are completely dependent on the symbiotic algae. They would not able to survive without zooxanthellae, which provide the necessary nutrients and the carbon needed for the corals to build the calcium carbonate skeleton. So that is a good examples of the mutualistic relationship. And another mutualistic relationship you see here, it's a goby fish. Now, when they lives together with the shrimp digs and cleans up a burrow in the sand in which both the shrimps and the goby fish live. The shrimp is almost blind and leaving it vulnerable to predator when above ground. In case of danger, the goby fish touches the shrimp with tails to on it, and when happens, both streams and goby fish quickly retreat into the burrow. So that are the examples of the mutualism. Now, what are the cleaning symbiosis? So cleaning symbiosis is a mutually benefited association between the individuals of the two species, where one that is a cleaner and that removes and eats the parasites on the other unwanted materials from the surface of the other body. That's a client. And you see here, there's a blue sticks cleaner rhesus that's removed dead skins and external parasites from the potato bus. And here you see that's another example. That's a white spotted puffer fish that's being cleaned by a golden cleaner resin. And these are the reference books: General Parasitology to Sicheng, Medical Parasitology, A.K. Hati, Parasitology K.D. Chatterjee, and Dictionary of the Parasitology Peter J. Gusling. Thank you.